This topic of entitlement, narcissistic traits and tendencies, right? Grandiosity, it's a huge topic in the sex addiction field right now. And I can totally see why. I will tell you right now. From personal experience, 99% of my acting out behaviors came from entitlement. I felt entitled to getting what I wanted. In many ways, I felt like I needed to get it to prove my superiority, that I was special, that the rules don't apply to me. They apply to other men, but not men of my status or stature or whatever, right? That was my own pathology. So as the field is kind of talking about this entitlement, I don't disagree whatsoever. I absolutely believe that it's probably, for many men, especially high-achieving men, successful entrepreneurial men, I believe it's probably the number one cause of their unwanted sexual behavior and their infidelities. But I want to kind of expand the discussion a little bit because I see a lot of people talking about these traits and tendencies and pathologizing them, labeling them, right? Judging them. And I think there's a bigger question that should be being discussed, and that is why? Why are these men becoming this way? Right? Why aren't we talking about that? Because in the end, if we don't address the why, then we're constantly trying to fix these men, right? It's all retroactive, right? But what about where this came from? When I think back to when I was a boy, I was very humble. I loved being equal, right? That was my superiority complex, and my entitlement and grandiosity kind of formed over time. So why was that? And I think if we go back to childhood, we can see a lot of this explanation. When we look at women, right? When young girls are growing up, what are they doing? They're playing with dolls, right? They're 3 years old and we're giving them a baby doll, an infant, right? We're basically just saying, hey, life is going to be filled with babies, families. They play house, right? They have plastic kitchens that they're playing. They have a Barbie and a Ken doll, right? A husband and a wife, and they're living in this big 2-story house that they're playing in, okay? So women spend their lives dreaming about this future, right? This beautiful future of a strong marital dyad with this wonderful husband, and then you have this family and this beautiful, strong family unit. And that's really what they're focused on. It's a lot of their youth and their childhood, right? And so their mind is really kind of focused on having this really wonderful, beautiful, strong family, this unbreakable, unconditional love thing they're trying to build. When we look at men, what are we playing with, right? We're playing with supercars, little Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And then look at the characters that we're playing with. And we're not playing house, right? We're playing with superheroes. These men who are superior to the general population. That's why we call them superheroes, right? And so here we are watching superhero TV shows. We're playing with superhero action figures, right? So our whole youth, basically 0 to whatever, 8, 0 to 10, we are playing with and idolizing these superior men who are genuinely portrayed. They're up on this pedestal, right? They're portrayed as being better than others. And how is it shown that society looks at them? Society respects them. Society celebrates them, right? Superman, Batman, these are the heroes, right? They're larger than life. And so if this is shown as the ideal way to be, this is the perfect man. I find it a bit interesting too. They're all single. They don't have wives. Batman goes home to his mansion and has no wife and no kids. Superman, they have these girlfriends, right? But they're not these monogamously married men who are pouring everything they have into this family unit, right? No, they're not. They are shown as being wealthy, superior, capable, well-respected, on this pedestal. They're being admired constantly by everyone around them. And not only that, but they're shown as being good, right? They're shown as being the best of the best. Like, you can't be any gooder than these good guys, right? So my point is, we're basically being groomed to be superior, to be better, to be respected, to be admired, to be the center of attention. So then, when these high-achieving men, these entrepreneurial men start their business journey, they're typically outgoing, charismatic, confident men. Again, for that first decade, they were trained that this is what the best guy is. The one that everybody admires is in this position of superiority. He can do the things that regular people can't do. So as you can see, you can kind of see where this is going to become an issue and a problem, right? When these young men are growing up, right? They're already trying to be above everyone else. They're trying to do the things that no one else can do. They're entitled. It's already kind of in the works and brewing, right? Their superiority complex doesn't even seem to them like a superiority complex because, again, they were taught that being superior is the way to be. right? To be that guy up on the pedestal. That's the one you want to be, not the other guys who can't fight the bad guys, right? You want to be the guy who can fight the bad guys. And so as we're looking at all of this kind of conditioning in our childhood, does it make sense why these men kind of turn into the superior, grandiose, narcissistic men they become, right? It's because we're kind of like trying to live out this fantasy. And I know it sounds so childish, and it looks childish. It really does. Like in my recovery, trust me, when I look back at how I acted and how I decided to spend the time, the things that I was thinking, it really is. It's like what a 10-year-old boy would think. But here I am in my late 30s, owning multiple businesses, leading hundreds of employees, right? And I have this mindset. I have this larger than life superhero mindset. I know it sounds pathetic, but that's the case. So as we're seeing this, there's tons of entitlement. There's tons of grandiosity. We want these people to recognize us just like we saw growing up, right? Like, hey, I'm doing all these great things. Where's my recognition? Where's my admiration, right? Why are you not looking at me up on this pedestal? I thought that was what I was supposed to do. Haven't I earned that, right? And again, it sounds so childish, right? Like, look at me, I'm special. I made it. Where's my trophy? Where's my crown? The point of all of this discussion is, as we're looking at unwanted sexual behavior, sex addiction, compulsive sexual behavior, that entitlement can start to bleed over into that, right? Whereas if we're not getting this results that we were promised, that Batman got, Superman got, all these other kind of Hollywood figures that we admired got, we can go on a conquest, essentially, to get that, right? And so that's why you see these men acquiring money, acquiring fancy big cars, big houses, designer clothes, right? They're looking around at their community and they're trying to figure out, hey, how do I get them to look at me like they look at Batman? How do I get that to happen? And unfortunately, one of those things, probably one of the biggest things, right around money. I can't decide which one's tied for first place, if it's women and the attention from attractive women, or if it's money and the power and status associated with money. To me, maybe they're right around the same or tied, but women are very, very close. Sometimes I look at it and I think women are actually ahead of money and power. And so my point of all of this, if that's the goal, look at how much trouble they're going to get into. Right? I would say, when they get into this marriage, how different are the two mindsets, right? Their spouse, their wife. What's she want for their life? And is it actually in line with what you want for your life, right? Is your definitions of success and accomplishment the same? Or is there some serious incongruencies there? And where's that going to lead? I think we're seeing a lot of that now. And unfortunately, one of those consequences is infidelity.